You're watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining us this morning at Inside Automotive right here at cbtnews.com. On today's show, we're diving into fixed ops hiring, what's working and what's not, and how to keep and attract good top talent. Here now is Austin Conroy, who's the Regional Fixed Operations Director at Rohrman Automotive Group. That is a well-known automotive group. You guys do an incredible job, so thank you so much, Austin, for joining us on the show today.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, appreciate you having me on, and I echo the sentiment of the Rohrman Auto Group. Obviously, I love it.
Yes, absolutely. You guys have such a great reputation. Which does that help you in trying to fill hard roles today that are in the fixed ops position?
Yeah, I think a lot of people like to start the conversation with how do you get resumes, right? But I think it starts well before that in what are you recruiting them to? So what's your culture like? You know, obviously, what are your benefits like? What's your value proposition as an employer, as a dealership of how are you different? How are you standing apart from other dealerships, right? And so obviously our goal is to create a great employee experience. And then we believe by doing that, referrals come, which are obviously your best source when it comes to recruiting, especially in fixed ops.
Yeah, that's for sure. What's the toughest role to fill right now?
Well, right now I'm sitting in a service manager seat that I haven't filled for a couple weeks. So I would say that one's pretty tough.
Yeah.
It's been we have a nationwide search right now going through some of the social media efforts that I have, and then also, some job ads and different things that we've posted. So it's just it's a very tough role, and it's a very important role when it comes to the dealership, because you're talking about how many customers come through the door each day in service, getting their car serviced. It really is the reputation of the entire dealership, rests on the service manager's shoulders. So it's below the GM, I would say is probably the number 2 most important position in a dealership.
Yeah, I have to agree. That's and most general managers typically come out of the variable ops side of the business. So they're not as well versed about fixed ops. I know I'm painting with a broad brush here, but I was one of those GMs that was better on the variable side than I was the fixed ops side. And I really leaned heavily on my fixed ops director to, take care of the back end, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much going on in the variable side.
Yeah.
You're kind of running 3 businesses in one. You have your new car, used car, and finance department. And so to have the back end as well, you have to have a really good operator in the back end. And
you do.
We try to look at it as a mini general manager role because really, I don't know what your experience was, but they're managing half the headcount of the dealership.
Yeah.
So it is a high level of leadership role. And with the warranty processes nowadays, it can also be extremely specialized just in terms of how does that manager understand the manufacturer programs, and are they able to grasp the different nuances to claiming warranties and then customer service at the end of the day too, which we know is even more complex nowadays.
That's right. So nationwide search, you're even willing to move somebody there into your market to take that store. What kind of store is it?
So I have right now it's a Hyundai store.
Okay.
So our brands we have Hyundai, Honda, Toyota, and Kia here in town, and then we also have a collision center that I help oversee. So we do have some great brands. I think I love the Hyundai brand, and the person that we had in this seat before was promoted outside the group to a very large role, one similar to one that I have. So it was kind of it was a great validation for what we're doing.
Right.
It hurt to lose him, but at the same time, it's like, hey, that's kind of the point of what we're doing.
Yeah, for sure. And this is also a type of a role that you can lean on probably your district manager to help get the word out among the other dealerships, right? Not necessarily in your market, but maybe, company-wide, right?
Yeah, I think a little bit. I think for me, a role like this, it's like, how do we widen the hiring funnel? So doing things that we wouldn't normally do, relocation being one of them.
Yeah.
Number 2 would be a social media presence, and how do you recruit on social media, and just trying to find different avenues to get resumes. And so again, just at all costs, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, our number 1 thing we would love to promote internally. But also we have to do our due diligence in searching as far and wide as we can to find somebody that has the right fit.
Right. So what are some of the things that differentiate Rohrman Automotive, and specifically for that position, versus your competition out there? Why would somebody come to your dealership for that position?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think first of all, just the culture of the Rohrman Auto Group. So our core values are, we use the acronym TIPS. So we say we're working for TIPS. It's transparency, innovation, personable, and servant-minded. And then we also have a mission statement. So we are driving relationships, awesome experiences. So I think you put all that together, and it benefits the employee experience, but also benefits the customer experience. And so, we're big on transparency, for instance. As far as financial data and reports that you have access to, it seems to be a big barrier from a lot of service managers because they say, hey, I don't know what all goes into it. We have data upon data upon data that you have access to and, give you support, but also the ownership of your department. So, working on things that, are maybe counterintuitive sometimes, but hey, we want to try them. You have a great idea, let's try it. Let's be innovative. Let's try to push it forward. So I think those are some of the things that differentiate it. We also, from the Rohrman perspective, I always like to say we're a perfect blend of a family-owned dealership and a corporate dealership. So, there's a great blend there where truly is a family feel with some of the corporate assistance programs that we have. It's a Rohrman Foundation that has given away over $2 million to our employees over the last couple of years. That's something that has been really near and dear to my heart.
Sure.
Employees give into it as well as the stores donate a part of their profit to it, and all the profits go back to to our employees that are in need. So if you think about $2 million over the last couple of years has been huge, and so again it all goes back to that differentiator of culture and that family feel. Although we are a large auto group.
Yeah. Many people that are in the industry will. You'll often hear them say, I really wish I wasn't working this many hours. I'd like to pick up a little league game here or a soccer game here, what have you, of my kids, or be able to attend more family functions and things. And the car business has never really been typically that family friendly. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so my take on when I became a service manager a few years ago, the start, I noticed how many hours these advisors are working. And so one of the things I did, we limit try to limit them to at least 40 hours a week, and that's it, right? And so if they do work a Saturday, we give them a day off during the week, or they get to leave early. And some of the guys, they want to come in and work the extra day. That's fine. But I was just having a conversation with one of my managers the other day, and I made the schedule for him because he was working 6 days a week. And I was like, you're burning yourself out. You can't do this.
Right.
And so that kind of flexibility, because I know that the employees are better when they're healthy, and healthy means physically, mentally, spiritually, that entire package. And you can't get that when you're working 60, 65 hours, especially as a service advisor or service manager, when it's mentally draining to deal with customers.
Oh yeah,
and
no question.
Deal with some of these complex repairs. And
That's
so
right.
We recognize that, and we really have tried to lean into that over the last few years.
Right. And we know how difficult it is to hire and keep good technicians. I mean, that's a whole nother show that we could have. But touch on that for a moment. Where do you stand on that? Are you in need of technicians just like so many other dealers today?
We'll always take them on. So if there's a technician hearing this, please reach out. But,
right.
I think one of the things we really committed to about 3 years ago was a technician career path. And so I personally, in my role, overseeing about 70-ish technicians, 75-ish technicians, I sit down twice a year personally with every single technician, and we review their career path. And that career path, we lay that out to them as far as, hey, when you achieve these levels, here's your pay. Here's your bonuses, right? And so really trying to lean into that part of the role, realizing that, the sticking point, what I've seen, the first year is okay. The first year to 3, you tend to lose some people. Year 3 to 5 is where you really need to lean in and keep them. Because if you can keep technicians past that year 5, it seems like they're going to stick for a long time. And that's been our experience. I really try to lean into those techs that have been with us that 3 to 5 year mark, and really try to, advance their pay, and also be making sure that we're accountable to sending them to training. I always tell them, I said, I will put as much effort in as you do. So I'll match your intensity.
Right.
Some guys can go from a lube tech to a master tech in 7 years. Some, like one I have at the Sunday store, it's been 4 years. He's going to be a master technician at the end of the month when he completes a couple webinars. So, that's I wouldn't say unheard of, but we're definitely, as an auto group, we're pushing them to be better, and rewarding them along the way.
Right. What are some of the things that you mentioned, a couple of them, but what are some of the things that you hear from technicians that they're looking for in a long-term career?
Yeah, I think obviously pay. There was a survey. I forget the company. I should have. I'll send it to you guys if I have it. But there was a survey done recently of about 4,000 technicians, and the two biggest things that they wanted was more pay and more vacation pay. So I always think it's kind of funny, but what I think technicians really want is to be valued.
Yeah.
And I hate that I still have to say that, because we realize how hard the role is to recruit for. But at the end of the day, do they feel a valuable part of the organization? Do they feel like they really matter? And with that really mattering, they want to know a career path. They want to know that the company is going to invest in them. I know so many dealers where, these technicians don't do their training because it's like, what's the reward for me to do the training? It's all in the dealership.
Right.
The more certified they get, the more the dealership gets rewarded.
Yeah.
And, the dealerships that actually say, okay, hey, we're partners together in this. And, we want to advance your career. We want to support you, whether it's tool allowances, again, sending them to training for as many as they're eligible for, as soon as they're eligible for it. Right. That's what they want. At the end of the day, they want to be valued and they want to be pushed on.
Right. Yeah.
In the career.
Why wouldn't a dealership send their techs to ongoing training? Just because they have too much business going on and they can't let them out of the stall, or what's the?
Yeah, I mean, I think traditional dealer thinking is, they're going to lose that production, because we know how valuable, from a profitability standpoint, each technician is.
Oh, yeah.
I'll go ahead and say it, like per day, how much they're generating for the dealership. And so to have those two stalls down for 2 or 3 days, or sometimes even a week, for that technician to be out, I think they don't see it as the long-term investment. But, I think part of the detriment of this business is everything is month to month to month to month.
Right.
But if we're taking the long-term view of, hey, I'm going to retain this technician for 3 to 5 years, we're going to make those investments, because we're not just thinking about this month or next month. We're thinking about next year, or the year after that, or the year after that. So I think that's what it is. It's just the short-term thinking of the industry.
Yeah, for sure. Where do you find technicians? When the time comes and you need them, where are you looking for them?
Yeah, so I tend to, everyone wants that master technician to fall out of the sky. My 8 years here with recruiting technicians, it's only happened to me once.
Yeah.
It's because we're a college town and they happen to be moving. The wife was a professor, moved to Purdue University, and the guy literally calls us and says, hey, I'm a master technician. I'm moving to town.
Yeah,
done. Absolutely. But the secret to it, and where we find it, is you have to start from the bottom. You have to widen that hiring funnel. So what does your training program look like from the ground up? We actually just recently, it was like 2 months ago, we renovated a very small shop that we had that was doing a lot of work for our collision center. We put 3 brand new lifts in there, and then we committed to having one apprentice technician in there at all times. And so we have a centralized training program. We have that program at the dealerships right now. But again, where do you find technicians? I think you grow them from internally. The Hyundai technician that I mentioned earlier, I always love sharing this story. And he's about 4 years with us at the end of this month, and I pushed him to do this. He has a raise on the line. So if he listens to this, if he completes his web training, he's going to be a master certified technician. You know how we got him, Jim? I stuck a now hiring sign by the sidewalk out front of the dealership, and he just walked in and said, hey, I think I might want to be a technician.
Wow.
And 4 years later, he's going to be a master technician.
Simple
I love
as that.
telling the story. I love it. So I want to recreate that over and over and over.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I would imagine, too, that you've got people that buy cars or have cars serviced in your service center that are also could be candidates to want to work there. That transition from customer to an employee happens often in the car business, does it not?
Yeah, I haven't had a ton of luck with that, but I do know a lot of people that have. They'll put on the bottom of their repair order, like now hiring, or send it out in part of their communications.
Sure.
I haven't had a ton of success with that, but not to say we haven't tried.
Right. Interesting. You think with with this tariff situation that's hanging over the industry right now, are you guys doing anything different in fixed ops? Are you gearing up for people maybe holding on to their cars a little bit longer? Do you anticipate for fixed ops income to rise because of this situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think the impact of the tariff and fixed ops is not going to be as noticeable potentially as selling cars, because you're talking about a 25% of 30,000 versus 25% of $50 for an oil change. But one of the things that I think it just brings back to the retention conversation, we started a program that we called Oil Guard. So it's a prepaid maintenance program, and so the customer is able to lock in their oil change pricing for the next 3 oil changes. We onboarded a company called Sunbit, which is payment options for the customers. We have specific tire deals. So we go direct to the manufacturer with our tires, trying to lower the cost of how we acquire them and also be able to lower the price that we sell to the customers.
Okay.
In fact, this month is our buy three, get one for a penny sale that we're running outside of a lot of our manufacturers.
Okay.
So we're able to compete with a lot of the aftermarkets. And then I was just working today on our parts pricing matrix and trying to figure out how the bottom end of that matrix, how we would be able to sell, parts for cheaper. Because I think, the rising costs are going to be a big issue.
Yeah.
And, but as a dealership, we realize it's a retention piece for us. The more cars we have in the drive, the better relationship we have with customers, the better it is for the sales side as well. I mean, those are the kind of vehicles that we want to acquire as dealers. So the more cars I can keep coming in through the service drive, the more sales we're going to get as well at the end of the day. Yeah,
for sure. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with this new crisis. We went through COVID and chip shortages and tough economies and all kinds of things. And it just seems to be that dealers are so resilient, they find a way to get to that bottom line that they need, right?
It's one of the things I love about this business. If you're entrepreneurial in any way, you're going to love it, right? You have to constantly adapt. You have to constantly act and think on your feet. But yeah, I think, my message out there is don't panic. We've seen things change from day to day to day.
Yeah.
Let's again, instead of this month to month to month mindset, let's take a little bit longer view of it. Let's step back. What does the next 6 months to a year look like?
Right.
Yeah, there's some uncertainty, but where do we want to be? And let's keep the customer service focus, as the issue at heart and not so much the tariffs.
Yeah. You got the right attitude. I think it's great advice. Austin Conroy, Regional Fixed Operations Director for Rohrman Automotive Group. Thank you so much for stopping into CBT News. We very much appreciate it. I know our subscribers and viewers will get a lot out of your visit with us. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.